All right, welcome back to Technique Tuesday. Today we're gonna go over leading the crossbody lead in salsa. The crossbody lead in salsa is a very important pattern we use all the time. Not super easy to lead, and it's more about doing less than doing more. Leading is all about opening the door for her to kind of walk through, right? So the crossbody lead, I'm assuming we've already worked on this before, but we have videos of us doing this pattern. I go and I open up and get out of the way of her. This is the most important part of the lead that I really am getting out of the way. How much I do this, when I go backwards on my right foot, I already start to move out of the way about 1/8 of a turn to my left. So I've already started to initiate this lead and do some of the work as I'm getting out of the way. Then on my next step, my side step, I finish with another 1/8 of a turn to now be 1/4 or 90 degrees away from her, and I really open the door for her to pass by me. It's more about my body direction than it is about pushing or pulling her across me, because now it makes her feel uncomfortable as she goes to walk across. I want her to do it under her own power. So as I open up here, 1/8 of a turn, 1/4 of a turn, now she's past me. I have two options here now, and both options give me different kinds of leads. Options I mean now my footwork actually. So I could go back on my right foot and rock as she goes past me, which is one type, or I could do what's called a second position break and go back into my right foot and replace. Both have two very different feelings to her because it puts my body in a different position. So if I'm here on my left foot, if I go rock back on my right foot, it gets me more out of the way, and I definitely recommend starting with this one if it's a little bit newer for you or if you're having trouble. To get out of the way of her a little bit more even as I go backwards here, she has plenty of space, but now I do have to lead the rotation, right? Which is kind of hard to get her to rotate 1/4 of a turn when I go to rock back here. I can really only rotate her 1/8 of a turn. So now when I replace back to this left foot, my body and her body finish the rotation together, and then we get to go walk back into this basic again. In a very simple sense, when you have momentum, this is the easier option to rock back out of the way and let her pass by you. But if we're looking to advance it a little bit more now, I'm going to try what's called a second position break, where I go back into my right foot again. Just talking about footwork, I go back into this right foot, I rotate and go onto my left foot, and then I can finish that pattern. But this video is about leading. As I go back into my right foot, she's walking across me. I have to soften my right side so I allow her to walk past me so she can get all the way onto this left foot. So now I can rotate her fully, and you can see in this version, as I go back onto this right foot, and she's on her left foot, we actually do get to rotate that full, for me 1/4, for her 1/2 a turn, and it's actually easier to replace and move on to the basic after, because we have a lot more space between us, where the back rock didn't give us much space between us. But the hardest part here is softening my right side enough that I allow her to move past me. Instead of maintaining the same frame, you can see her elbow is wicked far behind her, and it's very uncomfortable. I have to soften my frame, and then as I feel her get onto this foot, which is the same time that I get onto my foot, I get to now rotate her and pivot, and then we get to move in to the end of the pattern again. You can see on this side, 1, 2, 3, I replace back as she moves past me, we turn together, and then replace. I'd rather you be softer in the frame than more aggressive, because again, I'm just opening the door as she goes past me, but especially in this version, I get very soft on my right side and let the rotation of my body really guide her. The last thing I'm going to talk about here is my left side as I'm leading this. I've opened the door, but I want to make sure I keep her facing this direction. And it's not about doing more, it's about, again, kind of doing less as a leader sometimes. It's about leaving parts of my body in the right place. So my left hand stays exactly where it was, so that she now stays forward. So I've had to expand my left side so I leave her uninterrupted. If I take my left side with me, she will stay close to me and do some awkward rotating basic version. So the position of my left hand right here in the air does not change, so I don't affect her by expanding my left side again. I won't push her, because I don't want her to not come forward again. I still want her to come forward, but I have to leave her orientation of her body straight forward. And if I bring my left arm towards my left shoulder, she now rotates. So we're looking for this expanded feeling here, soft on the right side, and now I get a much more pliable version of this pattern, which feels much more comfortable to her. Thank you so much for joining us on Technique Tuesday. We'll see you next week.